Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another Stu's Music Quiz. This week coming to you from the year of 1987. 14 years old I was back then. So a very important year for me for music, but there's plenty out there for us to ask about. As usual, it's 30 questions and the answers will be at the end of the quiz for you to see. So get your notebooks ready and let's see how we do this week. Okay, we're going to start off with a trivia question. In 1987, who became the first artist to win the Eurovision Song Contest twice? The first artist to win the Eurovision Song Contest twice. Of course, later on, he was also to write a third winner. So there we go. The King of Eurovision, the first artist to win it twice. Number two. Another trivia question for you. What track became the first house music #1 in the UK, despite its artist not promoting it, not actually even being aware of its success in the UK? In fact, when he was told it was #1 in the UK by his manager, and quite offhand, I gather he just thought probably it was the dance chart and nothing more. Number three, another trivia question for you. Kylie Minogue. The great Kylie Minogue released her first ever record this year, which spent 7 weeks at #1 in Australia. All you got to tell me is, what was that record? Her first record. Okay. On to the biggest sellers of the year, certainly the biggest sellers in the UK anyway here. So what I've done for you here is I've got the top 5 UK biggest sellers, and you can see I've just used the initials. And what you've got to do for questions 4 to 8 is work out what those tracks are by which artist. Now, to be a bit nicer to you, give you a little bit of a clue. #1 there, NGGU by RA. Very famous record there. Debut single by this artist that came rolling into the charts. Number 2, a track that was from a film. Notably, a film about a man falling in love with a plastic woman. Yes, and it was as good as it sounds. Number 3, a song that was at the time the biggest hit for this artist, although they're bigger to come, but accused of being a rip-off of their own earlier single at the time by many critics, as well as also being a rip-off of Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Number 4, all these #1s, by the way, UK #1s. Number 4 meant that these artists became the first band to have UK #1s in 3 separate decades. The first band to have UK #1s in 3 separate decades. That's their comeback record as well. And number 5 there, a song that was about the writing of the book Frankenstein. Now, there you go. Right, so you just have to work out the names and the artist from the initials there and my little clues. And then we can move on to another trivia question here, number 9. And look at these 2 people here. You might well recognize them. I hope you do. My question is, why was it a bad year for those 2 people? Why was 1987 a bad year for those 2 people? Okay. Now, 1987 was a year of covers, and here's just 5 of them. The 5 biggest selling covers of the year. We have Let It Be by Ferry Aid. We have La Bamba by Los Lobos. We have Under the Boardwalk from Bruce Willis. We have Always on My Mind from the Pet Shop Boys. The Christmas #1 at the end of the year, that, wasn't it? And Got My Mind Set on You by George Harrison. All of those 5 covers, I'm just asking you, which one of them sold the most copies in the UK anyway? The most copies. Which one of those? Okay, so 10 questions about singles, really. Let's move on to some albums from the year here. Let's start with some album covers. Now, as usual, what I've done is given you some well-known albums from the year, and I've covered up the name of the artist and the name of the album. All you've got to do is, from the artwork, tell me what's the name of the album and the artist as well. So there's number 11. Here's number 12. Here's number 13. Here's number 14. And here's number 15. There you go. 5 albums from 87. You just need to tell me the name of the album and the name of the artist. Okay, it's the halfway point already. On now we go into the lyrics round, where I'm going to take here for you 5 songs from 87, give you a section of the lyrics, just a little bit missing. All you've got to do is complete the lyrics. Here's the first one as an example. The song that was number 1 on my 14th birthday. There you go. Now, there's a thing around, isn't there, that claims that dictates your life. Well, there we go. Take or leave us. Only please believe us, we ain't never gonna be what? Take or leave us, only please believe us, we ain't never gonna be what? Okay, number 17. Very different song. At home, there are 17-year-old boys, and their idea of fun is being in a gang called the Disciples. High on crack. And now I'm reminded that I have, as long as I haven't made a mistake, I have put the correct number of stars in there to replace letters. At home, there are 17-year-old boys, and their idea of fun is being in a gang called the Disciples, high on crack. And okay, number 18. Is it wrong to want to live on your own? No, it's not wrong. But I must know, how can someone so young do what? Is it wrong to want to live on your own? No, it's not wrong. But I must know, how can someone so young? I think this is the first time I've done a complete the lyrics for this lyricist, who potentially is one of the great lyricists of our time. There we are. Number 19 is a little bit shorter. Looks hard. Believe you me, it's not. It's worse than that. It's worse than that. If you're bemused and you live through 1987, just take a bit of time and you'll get it. Trust me. If you live through 87, certainly in the United Kingdom, yeah, you'll get it. Okay, number 20. Open the door, get on the floor. Everybody, what's everybody got to do? Open the door, get on the floor. Everybody. Okay. Right, on to everyone's least favourite round. Name that tune where you hear some strange sounds as I change the settings on my microphone. There we go. To suit the playing of a piano. Yes, it's the Name That Tune round, although this week it's actually really Name That Intro. And there's a particular theme this week. Okay, the 4 examples that we've got are all songs from well before 1987. 1987 was a year of a lot of re-releases. All 4 songs I'm doing for you here were re-released in 1987, and all 4 of them reached the top 10. So I'm going to play the introduction for these 4 songs, and you've just got to name them. So 4 songs that were re-released in 1987. They've been hits long before. All 4 of them reached the top 10. I'm going to play the introduction. And remember, the catch in this round is I'm not a very good piano player. So let's hope this goes okay. So starting with number 21. There you go. I think that's a pretty easy one to start us off. And before you're thinking, oh, what a waste of time this round is, you might find this number 22 a little bit harder. Remember, it's only the intro that, and I'm not good enough to play 2 hands and play the bass line at the same time. One more time. And if you need a clue, I suppose I could tell you that it was re-released for the same reason as number 21 was re-released. That might help you. Okay, this was re-released for a different reason, something to do with a remix. Number 23 here, from a different period. I think you might find this one a little bit easier. Excuse me, I'll do that again. There you go. By far the easiest one to play, and the one that I messed up at the beginning. Actually, my fingers just slipped off the keys, honestly, governor. Okay, that was number 23. Let's have number 24. Again, the intro to a re-released song of 1987 that hit the top 10. I'm going to do that one more time there. And there we go. Right, I can return to my normal setting. That suits the talking now. There we are. Right, number 25. Now we've named that tune. We're moving on to cryptic albums. Now remember, this is just my cryptic clue to a well-known album of 1987. Have a look. Work it out. Now remember, at this point, I always say every week, there's no time limit on this. You are perfectly within your limits without cheating here to pause and take your time. Okay, it's not a time quiz. Take your time if you need to work any of these out, but I'm going to move on quite quickly. Here comes number 26. What album am I representing here? My own personal favourite, number 27. What album am I representing here? Okay, we're just 3 away from the end. 3 trivia ones here. This is a bit of a challenging one for you here. Which album includes 2 reworkings Yes, not one, but two reworkings of Opus's international hit Live is Life, if you remember it, as well as a German cover of Queen's One Vision, and two further uses of musical ideas from Queen's A Kind of Magic album, which album includes two reworkings of Opus's international hit Live is Life, a German cover of Queen's One Vision, and two further uses of musical ideas from Queen's A Kind of Magic album. A little bit easier to work out this one. Number 29. Which classic UK TV music programme was launched in the US in 1987, although it only lasted a year? Classic UK TV music programme launched in the US in 1987, but it only lasted a year. And to finish, after a slow start, what 1987 release became the biggest selling debut album of all time? That is worldwide sales, I believe. After a slow start, what 1987 release became the biggest selling debut album of all time? Okay, so as I say at the end, I'm now going to give you the answers so you can see what you've got, how well you've done. But I can also remind you at this point, you notice down the bottom, of course, there is a little address here. The reason I do these quizzes is because I am attempting to raise money for a charity I believe in greatly, Young Minds. Young Minds help out young people with mental health issues who are really suffering very much at the moment. And as I've worked my entire life with young people, I believe in it very strongly. So if you can give anything, no matter how small, please, if you're a regular participator in my music quizzes and you've given before, thank you very much. Maybe by now you want to give a little bit more again. We've been doing over 20 of them. It will be lovely to raise a bit more money over this period of time. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to the answers and see how we've got on with it. Let's start with the artist to win the Eurovision Song Contest twice, of course, was the Irish Johnny Logan, who had won it back at the 1980, was it? Something like that. And was yet to win it again, not as an artist, but as a composer. What about number 2? The first house music number 1 in the UK was Jack Your Body, Still So Curly. Do you remember that? Huge hit that really pushed house music through in this country for the first time. But Steve Silk Hurley didn't do any promotion for it. There were some problems also with the record company, I believe. And had no idea that it was even remotely successful. Number 3, Kylie Minogue's first record. No, it was not I Should Be So Lucky. Of course, that came the following year. This was pre-Stock Aitken and Waterman. This was The Locomotion, which of course she re-recorded with Stock Aitken and Waterman. Her version of The Locomotion out in Australia, went to number 1 for 7 weeks and caused Stock Aitken and Waterman to sign her. Okay, how'd you do with these UK biggest sellers? I think some are easier than others, aren't they? I'm sure you got the biggest seller of 87. You probably could have got it without me even giving you any clues. Of course, it's Never Gonna Give You Up, Rick Astley, which is why I dropped in the rolling reference for the famous Rick Rolling, which is what it's best known for now, I would think. Okay, second place. The film was Mannequin, of course, about a man falling in love with a mannequin, which turned out not to be a mannequin. Honestly, don't look it up. And the song is Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now by Starship, the remarkable end to the project that began Jefferson Airplane, went to Jefferson Starship and ended up in Starship. That unbelievably, the group that started with White Rabbit or produced White Rabbit ended up producing Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, and we built this city. Well, there we go. Number 3, of course, was I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston, which many thought or accused of just being a reworking of How Will I Know. And others said was pretty much Girls Just Want to Have Fun being redone. Number 4 was You Win Again by the Bee Gees, the Bee Gees comeback record, which meant they'd had number 1s in the 60s, 70s and 80s. And number 5, of course, was China in Your Hand by T'Pau, which, yes, was about Mary Shelley writing Frankenstein. It was a dream she had and a scheme she had told in a foreign land, absolutely. Okay, number 9. Why was it a bad year for those two? That's Jools Holland, obviously, and Whispering Bob Harris, both associated with music shows. Jools Holland, The Tube, Whispering Bob Harris with the Old Grey Whistle Test, and both of those ended that year. Both of those were cancelled in 87. In fact, you say it's a bad year for these two. Bad year for most people, I would say. Two great music programs there. The year of covers. Well, Let It Be got to number 1. La Bamba got to number 1. Always on My Mind got to number 1. Under the Boardwalk and Got My Mind Set on You only got to number 2. But the biggest seller was Under the Boardwalk. Outsold all of them. There's a surprise for you. Bruce Willis's album. What was it called now? The Return of Bruno. Not a classic. Album cover. What's this? This was a classic. This was a mega seller and another comeback, of course, wasn't it? This was Def Leppard's return with Hysteria. If you never listened to the album, you pretty much have, because excuse me, you pretty much have, because of course pretty much every single song was released as a single. Well, what about this one? Cracking album. This was, of course, the second album, but the breakthrough album for Erasure. It was The Circus. Number 13, another mega seller for another comeback. This was Fleetwood Mac, of course, and Tango in the Night. Less of a big seller, but a very good album. This was, I believe, the Goodbye album, the last album from the Housemartins, The People Who Grin Themselves to Death. Before we get to a lovely album by the wonderful group who regulars will know I am mildly obsessed with, Love by Aztec Camera. It's probably Aztec Camera's weakest album, but it does have the wonderful Somewhere in My Heart, as well as Working a Gold Mine, Our Men Are. Lovely, great stuff. Okay, the lyrics. I'm sure many got this. Take or leave us, only please believe us. We ain't never gonna be respectable. Good old Mel and Kim. And poor old Mel, of course, who didn't have very long to go, despite breaking through at this point. Then at home, there are 17-year-old boys, and their idea of fun is being on a gang called the Disciples, high on crack. And, well, it's Prince, of course, as we know. It's Sign of the Times. They're high on crack, and they are toting a machine gun. What about 18? This is Morrissey, of course. This is the Smiths. This is Sheila Take a Bow. This is the opening. Is it wrong to want to live on your own? No, it's not wrong, but I must know. How can someone so young sing words so sad? I think that's probably one where, if you're a Smiths fan, you got it. If you're not, you thought, what the hell? Number 19. This was the year of Star Trekking by The Firm. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Absolutely. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, remember, as well. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. We come in peace, shoot to kill. Anyway, enough of that. I'm afraid I was one of the people who bought it on single and then got very embarrassed and smashed it. But there we are. Number 20. Open the door, get on the floor, everybody walked a dinosaur. Was not was. Open the door, get on the floor, everybody walked the dinosaur. Right, what about I name that tune? What about my piano playing? I would be surprised if there's a person out there who didn't recognise Stand By Me to begin with from that opening intro there, Benny King. But what about the next one? What about this very simple? As I said, it was for the release for the same reason as Stand By Me. It was another Levi's commercial. Okay, this was the one of the the man going off to war, and so he gives a package to his to his girlfriend as he goes off, and it's his jeans, and she puts them on. Yes, it's When a Man Loves a Woman by Percy Sledge. I suppose you probably have got it if I managed to use an organ rather than a piano, but that's a different matter, isn't it? Number 23, of course, was You Sexy Thing by Hot Chocolate, re-released in a minor remix. The only difference is being some strange synthesized trumpets being put on. Number 24 was, of course, My Baby Just Cares For Me, and that famous descending bass line that opens. Right, 25, the Cryptic Albums. Well, come on. You got to get this one, haven't you? How many clouds are there? It is the last one. It's the 9th one. It's George Harrison's Cloud 9. Of course it is. Got my mind set on you and the wonderful When We Was Fab. What about this one? What's Happening 3 Times? Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. It's The Cure. There we are. And what about it? Definitely my favourite, this one. Okay, so what have you got? You've got a tree there, which might have helped a number of people there if you remembered your 87. And what's hanging from it? A lot of different people with the name Joshua. It's the Joshua tree. Absolutely. Yes, I know. Corny, but there you go. And it's very hard to find famous people called Joshua or in any way. You might have reckoned, is that Josh Groban on the right-hand side there? On the left-hand side, there's Josh Gad, an actor who's in a lot of stuff at the moment, probably best known for playing the snowman in Frozen, doing the voice of the snowman in Frozen. There's Josh Jackson, is that his name? Joshua Jackson, hanging lowest off the tree there from Dawson's Creek back in the time. Above him, you might recognise that. That's DJ Shadow, whose real name is Joshua. And you've got Joshua from Friends at the top there, the character Joshua from Friends, and just underneath him, Josh Baskin, is that his name? The character from Big. I've always found that a bit disturbing, that idea in Big. Especially at that moment, there you go. He shrinks back to himself after being Tom Hanks and waves goodbye. And the girl who's thought he was a grown man waves at him and looks back a bit strangely. I'm not surprised a bit strangely. It's hinted that things have gone on between those two. And he's a small child. There's something dodgy about that anyway. Right, number 28. Bit of trivia. Yes, this is probably the hardest one in the lot. Unless you know this, it maybe isn't one you're going to get. But it is a wonderful album, and I love to introduce it to you. It's bizarre. It is Opus Dei by Laibach, the Slovenian group. And yes, those two reworkings of Opus's Life is Life, one in German, one in English, are very strange, as is the cover of One Vision. The point apparently appears to be that they do this in this very heavy industrial style. So they seem to, and it does work. You get a kind of a link between these big stadium anthems and an element of fascism. But it's a great album, worth listening to anyway. It's an experience, let's put it that way. Which classic UK did? Of course, it was Top of the Pops that was launched in the US in 1987. Only lasted a year though. Funny they chose 87. Chose to wait that long. I know they had American Bandstand, which is kind of their version before then, but there we are. And finally, the 1987 release that became the biggest selling debut album of all time after a very slow start was, of course, Appetite for Destruction from Guns N' Roses. How'd you do? How did you get on there this week in revisiting 87? Do let me know. There'll be a new quiz, I say next week, but we're now really going fortnightly, I think. So there won't be another one for 2 weeks. But if you follow me on Twitter, I will alert you as soon as it's out. And of course, if you subscribe, you will be alerted as soon as there is a new quiz up as well. Please do donate, as I said, if you can, anything at all. Just to say, I've said before, see it like an entry fee if you like. And yes, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Throw in a comment. Do anything, please, that will spread the word. The more people I can get going onto these, the more chance we've got of raising some money. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed that. Remember, there are over 20 other quizzes out there as well on my channel. Flick through them, various different years. Give them the best shot. Recent ones are 30, older ones are 50 questions. See what you can make of them. Okay, bye-bye.